On Monday morning, June 3rd, toward the end of the first Feeding Our Future trial, we learned that an unknown woman showed up at the home of a juror, Juror 52. Because Juror 52 did not answer the door, the woman explained to the man who did that she was leaving $120,000 in cash for the juror as a bribe in exchange for an acquittal. Other than the lawyers, defendants, and the court in this case, no one knew the names of the jurors. Juror 52 immediately contacted authorities when she learned of the bribe, exposing the plot to corrupt the jury. The news of this plot was announced in court that Monday morning. The news shocked all in the case and all who work in our criminal justice system. Corruption of a jury through intimidation or bribery is a serious federal crime that carries a significant prison sentence. Nationally, the Department of Justice and the FBI take jury intimidation and bribery extremely seriously and always have. But it just doesn't happen in Minnesota until now. On June 3rd, as we absorbed this disturbing news, we knew almost nothing about this crime and had many questions. Who was the woman who delivered the bribe? Why did she and others focus on this juror? How did they know where the juror lived? How did they hatch their plan to bribe Juror 52, and who was involved? While our team of AUSAs and federal agents were finishing the case that would lead to 5 convictions, we simultaneously began to unravel this plot. Over the past 3 weeks, prosecutors in my office and experienced investigators from the FBI, along with postal inspectors and IRS agents, reviewed mountains of digital and physical evidence with appropriate fervor to answer these and many other questions. I thank all of them and our partners at the BCA for their dedication to the integrity of the justice system, so that now, only a few weeks later, only a few weeks after this bribery plot was foiled, we have the answers. Today we announce an indictment against 5 defendants. They are charged with crimes including conspiring to corrupt the Feeding Our Future jury by bribing Juror 52 and attempting to win an acquittal not on the evidence, but through an elaborate scheme to infiltrate this jury. The 5 defendants are Ladan Ali, Abdi Majid Noor, Saeed Farah, Abdi Aziz Farah, and Abdul Karim Farah. Ladan Ali was the woman who showed up at Juror 52's home with the bribe money. Abdi Majid Noor was a Feeding Our Future trial defendant. He recruited Ladan Ali and what we describe as a blueprint for Juror 52, an instruction manual on how to win an acquittal, was found on his phone. Defendant Saeed Farah is also a defendant in the Feeding Our Future trial. He provided the bribe funds, and he deleted on his phone, although we recovered it, a video of Ladan Ali delivering the bribe to Juror 52's home, as we'll discuss more in a moment. Abdi Aziz Farah was also a Feeding Our Future defendant, organized this conspiracy, deleted all of his phone contents in court on June 3rd, and a list of jurors was found in his home, as I'll show you in a moment. Abdul Karim Farah is the brother of Abdi Aziz and Saeed Farah. He surveilled Juror 52 to learn more about her, and he assisted Ladan Ali the night that she delivered the bribe funds to Juror 52's home. In a moment, I will explain in some detail how our investigation unfolded and provide an overview of some of the evidence that led to these charges. But first, I want to be very clear. When the bribe was announced in court, lead prosecutor Joe Thompson rightly stated that it was like something out of a mob movie. That was 3 weeks ago. But now that we've put in weeks of work around the clock to unravel this plot, it is so much more. As alleged in the indictment and other documents, these defendants engaged in a chilling attack on our justice system. They sought to buy a juror and use her to infiltrate the jury with their own false arguments that had nothing to do with the evidence or the law. They studied her, followed her, and determined that she would succumb to their scheme. The fact that they failed does not lessen the magnitude of what they tried to do. Jury trials are one of the cornerstones of our democracy. They rely on facts, law, and the independence of 12 people who stand for impartial justice. These defendants sought to undermine these fundamental democratic principles, and they plotted carefully and deliberately during the trial, waiting for the right moment to act. Fortunately for all of us, Juror 52 could not be bought, and she terminated their scheme. There's one phrase that comes up in this case that I'll show you in a moment that really encapsulates the chilling nature of this attack. When the defendants instructed Juror 52, or tried to, "You alone can end this case." That phrase comes up later as we unravel the evidence that we encountered. So how did the team of FBI agents and prosecutors, with help from the postal inspectors, IRS, and BCA, uncover the essential elements of this scheme and identify the co-conspirators in such short order? I'm now going to give you a little bit of a window into the investigation and how just some of the evidence against these defendants came together. As you know, Sunday night, June 2nd, a bag with $120,000 was delivered to Juror 52. For those who haven't seen it, this is the bag, and this is the money. Juror 52 turned it over to authorities. Authorities turned it over to the FBI. On June 3rd, the bribery attempt was announced in court because Juror 52 contacted authorities when the money was brought to her home. The court ordered all defendants to turn over their cell phones to authorities. Defendant Abdiaziz Farah immediately wiped his phone clean. He actually engaged in what's called a factory reset to wipe the entire phone clean of all of its contents. As we worked through the night and the next day, preparing an investigation strategy, FBI on June 5th executed a search warrant at the home of Abdiaziz Farah. And there, they found a list of the jurors' names, a list that should never have left the courthouse. The list was hidden in a water bottle, as you see here, in Abdiaziz Farah's home. Next, we learned, because we brought the bag to the BCA, that the bag contained the fingerprints of someone named Ladan Ali. Learned that Ladan Ali lived in Seattle, and the investigation began to focus on her as well. So next we'll take a look at the activities of Ladan Ali as we learned them. On May 30th, a Thursday, Ladan Ali arrived in Minneapolis to undertake the bribery plot. On May 31st, after court, Friday, Ladan Ali surveilled Juror 52 following her from the courthouse to her home. Just one example of some of the evidence that we gathered quickly. Picture of Ladan Ali in her rental car, as you see up in the top left, following juror 52 in the blurred out car, juror 52 leaving a parking ramp, heading home. The sophistication and intentionality of this plot cannot be overstated. Juror 52 then is leaving, see it, trying to leave the area, and Ladan Ali following her closely behind. One of the things that the conspirators decided to do here was track the movements day and night of juror 52. This chart represents just a list of some of the times that Ladan Ali's rental car that she'd rented upon landing here on May 30th was documented near juror 52's home. 19 occasions, Ladan Ali was following juror 52 at close range. And all of these slides will be available to the media. This is more than just a mob movie. This is a chilling attack on our system of justice. Ladan Ali delivered the bribe to juror 52's home the evening of June 2nd. On June 3rd, after it was announced that there was this bribe attempt the night before, Ladan Ali left Minneapolis early, changed her flights. She was destined to leave a few days later. She got out of here. After she left, packages arrived at her hotel room, including a car tracking device. It's part of the plot and scheme to follow juror 52. Now let's focus on the day of the bribe, June 2nd. On June 2nd, Abdul Karim Farah, whose job it was to assist Ladan Ali follow juror 52, purchased a screwdriver at a store to take off the license plates of Ali's rental car. And here's a photo capturing him leaving a store with a screwdriver that he purchased for that purpose. Sometimes when you're trying to track somebody and you don't want law enforcement to know about it, you take off your license plates because there are something called license plates readers around. Obviously, it didn't work fully because we were able to track that car. Then Ladan Ali and Abdul Karim Farah arrived at the home of juror 52 Sunday evening. One of the things that FBI agents were doing during this entire period that we're investigating this case is going through the phones that were turned over by the judge. It was made a little bit more difficult because there were a lot of deletions, including one of the defendants who deleted the entire phone. But the FBI was able to uncover evidence, including a text from Abdul Karim Farah to Saeed Farah saying, "Still posted outside of house," letting him know we're outside of juror 52's house. Just think about that. Sunday night, before the final day of trial, our team is here preparing the final days of arguments, and these guys are plotting to bribe a juror. Abdul Karim Farah also took a video of Ladan Ali going to the home, standing at the door, and providing the funds. Abdul Karim Farah then sent that video to Saeed Farah saying, "Watch and delete." Saeed Farah later deleted the video, but we were able to recover it from his phone. We're not going to play that video for you because it shows detail of Juror 52's home. Next, back to the timeline of the investigation. While we're learning this, at the very bottom, the FBI found on the phone of Abdi Majid Noor a blueprint document for Juror 52, because it's not enough just to give Juror 52 $120,000. You then have to instruct her in how to go about winning an acquittal. And they thought through carefully what they wanted Juror 52 to say. This is a copy of the document. Actually, a full copy will be made available to you in the packets that we have for you. I've used the word chilling a couple of times. I've been doing this for a long time. I will tell you that this document is chilling. It starts off with the introduction. Below are arguments to convince other jurors. Remember, your vote will be not guilty on all counts for all defendants. And then the very first argument that the defendants want this juror to make to the jury is, we are immigrants. They don't respect and care about us. One of 3 times in this document that the co-conspirators inject racism into this case, or try to. Other arguments are made in the middle of the document. There's prejudice by the government against people of color. Excuse me. And you'll have all these documents. And why is it always people of color and immigrants prosecuted for the fault of others? One of the things that's so concerning about this is that the defendants are injecting into a jury arguments that could never be made in a court of law and for which there's no support. And think about it, the very first argument the defendants instruct Juror 52 to make is not one on the evidence of the law. It is to accuse the government of racism. False claims of racism in a court case are destructive in so many ways. First, as you heard at trial, in this trial, from the MDE witness, the false allegation of racism against MDE employees who looked into the defendant's fraud was designed to intimidate state employees from asking questions and doing their jobs. So let's be clear. In this office, we do our jobs without fear or favor. And no such allegation will ever deter us, the FBI, or our law enforcement partners from seeking justice. Second, here, the false allegation was designed to sway a jury based on an argument that the lawyers could never make in open court and that no one could address before the judge who instructs the jury. It is the definition of improperly and deliberately corrupting a jury. Finally, it is an obvious and blatant attempt to inflame the jury so that they disregard their duty to render justice based on the evidence. Through this blueprint for acquittal, the defendants made clear that they wanted to infiltrate the jury not only with a bribe, but with a well-thought-out plan to corrupt our system and undermine the rule of law. And then finally, the sort of concluding inspiration for Juror 52, you must hold fast, not guilty on all counts. And then the language I quoted earlier, you alone can end this case. And I want to pause there. As I said, one of the core principles of our democracy is an independent jury who reaches a conclusion based on the facts and the law. And here they informed one person that for $120,000, you alone can end this case. The jurors here, the defendants here are charged with a number of crimes, some of which I don't think have ever been charged in Minnesota. All 5 are charged with a conspiracy to commit juror bribery. All 5 are charged with a violation of Section 201, bribery of a juror. All 5 are charged with Section 1503, corruptly endeavoring to influence a juror. And Abdi Aziz Farah, as you'll see in the indictment, is charged with Section 1512, obstruction of justice, for deleting his phone after being instructed to turn it over in its current form by the judge. I started my career as a federal prosecutor in Brooklyn, where one of the missions of the office was to dismantle the 5 mafia families. Just like in the movies, as Joe said, the mafia sometimes sought to corrupt juries through intimidation and bribery. As a result, where appropriate, courts ordered juries to be entirely anonymous and sequestered. But that was decades ago in New York. This form of corruption has now made its way to Minnesota. We must therefore take this threat to our system of justice seriously going forward. Together with the FBI and our law enforcement partners, we will examine when and whether to seek anonymous and sequestered juries to protect what happened here. As we protect our juries from corruption, we will be standing up for the integrity of our system of justice. There is no higher priority than protecting that system. Whether a jury convicts or acquits, it must always be on the merits and based on what happens in the courtroom, not bribes and not false arguments snuck into a jury room. We sometimes ask ourselves, all of us I think, whether one person can actually make a difference. It doesn't take much. Juror 52 gave us a clear example of how to do it. On Sunday night, June 2nd, Juror 52 refused a bribe and called authorities, and she made a difference. We together, our partners at the FBI, SAC, Alvin Winston, my team, we will finish the work Juror 52 started. We will bring these defendants to justice. I'll take some questions. Lou.
What is the origin of the $120,000 cash?
It's not in any of the documents that are in this case yet, and so that will have to come out later, Lou. Yes, other than Saeed Farah. It's stated in the indictment, provided the money. Yes?
Saeed Farah was one of the 2 who were not convicted. What do you make of that?
I don't.
And then also, do you believe they had helped sort of crafting their legal arguments?
I don't have anything on that either.
What?
I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Obviously, you detailed this quite extensively. Do you have any concern that there were any other attempts, that somehow any of this message infiltrated any jurors?
So we don't have any evidence to that effect, but we're still looking and investigating. We did this quickly, and we wanted to bring charges as quickly as we could for a number of reasons, but this investigation's ongoing. Matt?
It appeared to me that 52 was the only person of color on this jury. Do you think
Yeah.
that was the reason she was targeted?
In the indictment, it alleges that she was targeted for 2 reasons. One, she was young, and 2, that they believed she was the only juror of color. Yeah, Ernesto?
Are the 5 defendants in custody?
There are defendants in custody, other defendants turning themselves in. I believe they're in custody now, yes. Yeah, Stephen?
Excuse me, was this surveillance around the clock 24/7? Any indication why the attempted bribe happened without the juror at the home?
I can't answer any of those. Based on the, yeah, it's Rob.
You mentioned the juror list found inside a water bottle,
Yes.
and this was one that was taken from the courtroom. Can you elaborate on that?
It's a typed up list based on what was in the courtroom.
That they had remembered and typed, or how? Any idea how that?
Yeah, it's not the actual list that was in court. It's a typed up list based on what was in court.
Through other court filings, though, to that issue, there was a missing list or two. Can you
Right.
address that?
Yeah, good question, Lou. Not at this time.
Do you know when the last time DOJ prosecuted anybody for jury bribery or tampering?
I don't, although I vividly recall the office that I was in 1992 prosecuting a juror. But well, we'll get into it. I remember it very clearly. Dina.
Maybe I missed it, but what's the woman from Seattle's relationship to these defendants?
It's not described in the indictment, but they knew her well enough to recruit her. Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, I noted that not every defendant whose home was searched here in the last month is in this indictment. Was there any cooperation? Did your team have any assistance?
So I never comment one way or the other on whether anybody has cooperated or not, and I'm not going to do that here, but stay tuned. Scott.
Saeed Farah has been taken into custody in what?
Yes. Yes.
Have they made their first appearances yet?
3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, Joe?
1:30 today.
1:30 today in St. Paul. So we got to end quickly so those of you who want to get over there can. Yeah.
In a case like this, were you able to go to the jurors once they were finished deliberating and rendered their verdicts and ask them, hey, were you approached by somebody and offered a bribe?
That is something that is typically done over time in a bribery investigation. We have not done that yet here.
How is juror 52 doing, by the way? I mean, after this ordeal.
I'll answer that question at a later time. As you can tell, I don't have a lot of answers, Scott.
Can you say anything about the Playhouse 90 of the attorneys, the defense attorneys in court the morning when this was announced?
No.
Are you concerned this is going to happen again with future trials going forward?
So that's thank you. That's a question I can't answer. Yes, we are concerned just based on knowing how this has occurred elsewhere. And so, like I said in my remarks, we're going to be studying closely what to seek in future cases, and where the FBI and myself and our team believe it's appropriate, we will seek sequestered and anonymous juries, because that's the single best way to ward off this kind of thing. Yeah, Lou.
Regarding Saeed Farah, to be clear, he walked out of the courthouse after the verdict was reached. He was free in between then and yesterday. Were you able to determine if he furthered the crime during that time period?
I can't comment on that.
How much has this affected your preparations for the subsequent trials in this case? I know
So-
the second one you've moved to continue.
So we now have a case to prosecute and try that's separate from the remaining trials, and we're assembling the correct teams and the correct order and the correct resources along with the FBI and other law enforcement to staff up for all of this, but this is what we do, Matt.
We didn't specifically hear from you on the verdict. Do you mind commenting on that? There, it was a majority guilty, but there were these not guilties, and I know that we're going to get questions about if the not guilty was related in any way to the bribe.
So we don't have any information to suggest that that's the case, Lou. If I did, I would say so. But the investigation's ongoing. It's been 3 weeks. My comment on the verdict is what Joe Thompson said from this podium. This was a clear victory for the government because, as I've said in every fraud case I've worked on, the most important thing is to have a jury agree with us that this was a massive fraud and it occurred the way that we did. You charge 70 defendants, there's a chance you're going to have some acquittals. The most important thing that happened here is that 5 people were convicted of engaging in the very exact fraud that we've been talking about for a couple of years. And I was gratified to see that, and Joe said all that, I think, perfectly well in the press conference. Yes, Scott?
Can you say whether the agents retrieved any more cash in the course of the searches?
I can't. We're running out of things I can say. So I just want to end with this. There's a reason you don't see these kinds of cases often or ever in Minnesota and not nationally. This really is an attack on our system of justice. And you can plead not guilty, you can go to trial, you can make all the arguments that a court will allow you to make. and I honor lawyers who do that. What you can't do is corrupt a jury. And you can't tell a juror you alone can end this case. Thanks for coming.
Andy, how many defendants are appearing? All five?
Oh, 5 and 3.
Oh, 3 today.
3 today?
All at St. Paul, the Farah brothers.
Oh, no, it's somebody. It's one of the